Hey guys, me being an idol again, and another off-camera video for you here. This is going to be a very, very belated response to Tom Benjamin, who actually did a video, I think in October, about decks that make him happy. And I noticed several other people that I follow actually did responses to it, and I thought it might be fun to do. So now that, we're just about an hour away from April here in my time zone currently, I thought I would just chime in because I thought it would be really fun. Forever late to the party here. So I have a handful of decks here, and I'm going to start with the Wild Unknown. Now I know this deck is really popular, but I got it when it came out. I pre-ordered it when it came out mass-produced in 2016, and I had seen it as an indie deck and I really, really loved it, and there was just no way I could afford it at the time. So when I found out it was mass-produced, then it became affordable to me, and the great part is that the production was still really, really incredible for it. And I absolutely fell in love with this deck. I read solely with it for 2 years, I think, and it's just incredible. Now, it's very, it's got a lot of lines, it has a lot of nature. I think that's what drew me to it, was the imagery of nature, though there are some cards like this that kind of, I'm a little bit lukewarm to, but I really, really connected with this deck on a very deep level, and I read with it so much. It's one of the decks that I can just read with so easily, and I absolutely adore it. It's just an amazing deck. And I have her Animal Spirit deck, which I absolutely adore as well. It is another one that I honestly think that it's just perfect for me. It's funny though, because I recently saw this deck and it had been trimmed, and I was so uncomfortable by it. I was like, oh, I can't, like, why is it trimmed? I can't. It actually made me feel anxious. It was funny. It was a weird, emotional reaction to that, where I was like, oh, which is so funny because some people just are very borderless decks all the way, and other people don't really care, and I'm like, really depends on the deck. Hi, Brew. I had a dream about this card. This card specifically, this depiction of the Ten of Swords. So that was a little unnerving. Yeah, I absolutely love the Wild Unknown. It's a deck that I can read with very easily. It's one that I adore. I used to keep it in a bag that was made by my friend. Lately I have been keeping it back in the box because the box is so pretty. I'll probably go back and forth though. I have not gotten into modifying decks yet. I have not found that bravery, but I really think this would be pretty in black. I think it would be really hard to modify this deck though, because it's got the white borders. Maybe I'll get brave. There are a few decks that I'm actually thinking about trading, so we'll see. So I recently did showcase this in a very recent video. This is my newest deck that I got as a birthday gift, and this is the Moon Crystal Tarot. I'm gonna just thumb through it a little bit. I'm sorry if this is a repeat for those of you guys who saw my other video I did about a week ago, I think now, where I was just kind of talking about the new decks that I got over the last 2 months, I think. But this deck makes me so happy. It really does. As you guys know, I am a Sailor Moon nerd, and I love this deck. I love it so much. Everything about it just makes me smile from ear to ear. This is just a love for me. I have a Sailor Moon tattoo on my arm here, which I show in the video where I initially talk about this deck. It's a few videos back if you guys are curious. But this deck just makes me so happy. Hi, Brew! It's incredible, and it's very lighter weight, as you can see. So this is the deck that I'm actually going to be reading with for April, and I'm very, very excited to work with it. I just love it so much. Like, it makes me so, so happy, and I can't stop saying that because it really does. It's incredible. It's just perfect for anybody who loves Sailor Moon. Like, oh, it's amazing. It really is. The artist did an incredible job on this deck. The one thing that I don't really like, though, is that the box is so fragile. It's so beautiful, too, but it's so fragile, and I'm so worried I'm gonna just, like, wreck it. Oh, gosh. Okay. I have no room on my desk, so I'm kind of, like, trying to finagle. Be patient with me, please. I have to move my mouse, and yeah. Okay. So, this next one is the Star Child Tarot. And, I had wanted this one for a couple of years. I think since it came out in 2016, and at the time, my good friend Megan had drawn my attention to it because she recently purchased it. And then, over the last few years, she has kind of, she's converted to Christianity and, you know, found her way in that path, and she's very happy. But I'm sure, I don't know if you guys, some of you may have seen back in December, she actually shipped me some of her decks and some of her witchy supplies, and I was very, very touched by it. It meant a lot to me. So this is her copy, and I love this deck. It's so beautiful, and it just, I have this love for all things cosmic. I love Danielle Noel's artwork, and it just invokes something in me. Like, it's so pretty. I will say, though, I really, really like the, now this is a deck that I really like borderless more than with the borders, because I just think that it pulls the images and the colors out more in the borderless version. So at some point I might trade it for that. We'll see. I'm a little like sentimental, though, and I don't really want to let go of the one that she specifically gave me. So that's one thing that I'm struggling with, because I'm such a sentimental person. But it is a gorgeous deck, and I can't, it's like, this is one of those feel-good decks. Like, you really can't feel awful when reading with this. And the interesting part about it is it really kind of like pulls you in. It's a very, very captivating deck. I just love her artwork. I want to get the book. She has a book that is on tarot, but it's kind of like, it's based off of the Star Child. I really want to get that book, because I think it would be a wonderful companion for this. I mean, I can't imagine not having this deck, and I think it was very, very perfect for my personality. It's funny because I have this part of my personality that's the, like, kind of brighter, and then there's the other part of my personality that loves darker imagery as well. It's just funny. I think we all have that, though. But I love this deck so much. It's just so beautiful, and I mean, sometimes it honestly looks like dreams I've had. It's interesting. So that's the Star Child. And it's got this really pretty gilding. This one and the next one I'm going to show you guys, which I was all about, and I was so enthralled with. I am stacking these in a horrible way. They are going to crash. This is the Moonchild Tarot. I obsessed over this deck for probably about a year. And obviously, because I knew about the Star Child Tarot when she announced the Moon Child Tarot, I mean, I'm a moon baby, as you guys know. I was like, yes, yes. This, if I had to pick a favorite deck, this might be it. I'm not even really, that's really hard for me to say, but I love this deck so much. I pre-ordered it and I waited months for it. It finally came. It is just incredible. I got it in September. And it's incredible. Like, it's basically, she took this, what was everything that was beautiful about the Star Child and just completely, like, I don't want to say blew it out of the water because the Star Child's incredible, but this deck is just beautiful. I know collage art is not some people's things. I wouldn't honestly think that it was mine, but the way that Danielle Noel does her collage art is just really cool. Like, this is an actual photo of Saturn's hexagon pole, which I thought was an awesome touch. I will say though, her decks are not super close to Rider-Waite. So if you're like me and you're still learning the imagery of Rider-Waite, they are a little bit hard to read with. I have to rely on the guidebook rather heavily, but that's okay. The guidebooks that she has for both the Star Child and the Moon Child here are incredible. This deck does come with extra cards. Here's one of them. That's shadow work. It's beautiful. Yeah, this deck, it's big. Like, this deck is pretty big. Like, there's my hand. I got long fingers though, but so I mean, it's a little hard to shuffle. But if you have long fingers like me, you don't have that much of an issue. But I mean, I always throw cards everywhere, even when I'm shuffling. But I mean, it's just, I love this deck so much. Like, it's just so much. And this is again, like, this is borderless, and I feel like the Star Child should have been initially, because this kind of imagery and the colors that she chooses for her artwork, borderless makes it pop. Whereas the Wild Unknown, borderless was really awkward to see. I don't know, I just felt uncomfortable when I looked at it. This is another extra card. That's Moon Child. I love this one. Oh, it's so pretty. But yeah, I could talk about this deck all day. I seriously could. I did a video just on it, basically showcasing it right after I got it, and I love it so much. Like, this is definitely probably one of the ones that I reach to first when I am not feeling happy and I need a pick-me-up, is the Moon Child, because although Wild Unknown I can read with really well, Wild Unknown is a little more harsh. So usually if you're not in the greatest mood, you kind of don't want to pick that one. And then this one. I'm not sure. I have one other deck sitting out. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to include it in this video or not. So when I get to it, we'll see if I decide to or not. But, so this might be the last one, this might not. This is the Mystical Cat Tarot. It comes in a giant box. This was gifted to me by a good friend of mine. It's borderless, which I love. I love the mysticalness of this, obviously, mystical cats. I also just love cats. So this one made me really happy. I love the artwork. I looked at Tarot of the Pagan Cats, I think, and I didn't really care for it. But this one I really liked, just because the artwork I kind of gravitated to more. But you can't feel bad while reading with this deck. It's so amazing. They have one for dogs too, which is awesome. And even though I'd love to get a dog eventually, I'm much more of a cat person, and I just love it so much. And it makes me smile so much. I have had cats my whole life. My parents got our first cat when I was a year old, so I can't imagine not having kitties. And I have 2 kitties, as you guys know. They make appearances in pretty much every single video of mine. Their names are Luna and Prue. So yeah, this deck was an absolute love for me, and It's so sweet. And I mean, it's standard tarot size. Shuffles really well. I didn't shuffle all of the ones that I showcased here, but yeah. So that's the Mystical Cats Tarot, and it is wonderful. Alright, I think I'm going to show the last deck. I showed it in my last video where I talked about decks, just because I had acquired it recently, but it's one that I was really, really excited to receive, and I'm going to talk about it again. So, this is exactly a feel-good deck, but it does make me happy. And I think I talked about my intent with this deck when I got it, but this is the Marigold Tarot by Amrit Arar. This was a birthday gift from my husband this year, and this deck makes me happy because it is very captivating. I intend on using this deck for spirit work and for shadow work and for ancestral work. I have been doing my daily pulls with it to familiarize myself with it. In the beginning of the month I was working with the Wildwood Tarot, and I love the Wildwood Tarot, but I'm having a hard time warming up to it right now. I think it's just because it's so different. But, so I kind of, after I received this, I switched over to this just because I wanted to familiarize myself with it. But now I think I'm going to start using it for its intended purpose. But this deck is beautifully made, and it is an incredible deck. It's very captivating. The imagery is very interesting. There's a lot of subtle symbolism if you're paying attention. I love it. I like how the cups are skulls, the wands are plants. The Three of Swords has the human heart, which is really cool. The pentacles are rings and are often depicted by hands, which is really pretty. And every single human figure in it is a skeleton. I talked about this deck in my other video, but the reason why this deck makes me happy is because it's so fascinating. There's just something about it. And again, it's funny because I like things that are, there are some things like the Moonchild or Starchild Tarot where it's brighter imagery. You know, the Starchild and the Moonchild have more of those galactic pastel imagery, and then you have this deck, completely opposite. But I absolutely love it for its own reasons. And there's just something about it. It's incredible. I love the drinking horn. Like, this deck is very, very well made. I ended up getting the gilded version because it was the only one that was available, but I don't regret it because it's beautiful. But yeah, this deck, if this imagery is your type of thing, I highly recommend this deck. It's incredible, and it's very well made. Like I said, the cardstock is really incredible. It's very flexible too. I think I mentioned that in my last video where I talked about it, but like I said, I contemplated throwing this in here, but yep, now we're talking about the Marigold Tarot again, because I'm that enthralled with it. So yeah, those are the decks that make me happy. I thought it'd be really cool to do this with Oracle decks too. I might do that at some point, but I specifically wanted to do Tarot because, let's put this here for now, because the tag was for Tarot. So that's it. That's my video reply to Tom Benjamin, decks that make me happy. Hope you guys enjoyed. Blessed be.